Hold on.
I
No,
think
I got this answer. I'm marrying the tacos. I'm killing the pizza, and I'll the burger.
What?
I think we need to like set the table first. It's Lauren and Tyler Dietering with City Dining Club.
And this is our special chef that we've been talking about.
The surprise chef, yes.
Devon Rosenblatt.
Is that the correct pronunciation? Rosenblatt?
Yeah, Devon Rosenblatt. Yep, that's it.
Rosenblatt. Okay. We have a tough last name too and always get Dietering, and it hurts our ears.
Dietering.
Yeah. So people always want to put L's in it. Dieterling.
I don't know how you get Dieterling out of Dieterling.
So, Rosenblatt, got it. And you are the chef at Fuel Meal Prep. And
the Fuelery?
No, Fuel Meal Prep.
Okay.
And getting ready to open the Fuelery. So are you going to be running both businesses simultaneously, or walk us through that?
Yeah, so I'm going to take up residence inside of the Fuelery, where I'll be operating as the executive chef and general manager. But I'll also I'll have a team of people who work the meal prep side, and I'll be running that as well, as far as setting menus and recipes and handling all the nutrition and stuff. And then I'll have an amazing team of people who will exist behind the scenes who make all the magic happen. I would like to be there with them, but I'm unfortunately only one person. So
we understand.
Only be in so many places.
Entirely. I forgot to mention, while we're chatting, Devon is going to be making hot brown, which our members voted on which meal they wanted to see. And did I hear also he's making a mint julep?
Yes.
So
yeah, I'm actually making one for myself right now.
So you said that you're originally from Virginia. How did you end up in Louisville, Kentucky?
Funny and long story, actually. So I came to Kentucky. I started in Berea, where I went to Berea College for psychology. Had every intention of studying psych and sociology, and eventually making my segue into the FBI, where I hoped to become a criminal analyst and just understand why it is that those kinds of individuals think and work the way they do. That didn't end up happening. I ended up choosing music and food instead.
And I know, Devon, that activism is important to you. So I wanted to get your thoughts on why re-entry efforts are important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Where do you start with that, really? It's the importance of reintegrating these individuals into our society and not punishing them for a lifetime of, for a mistake it can't be overstated. It's so important. You're talking about community members out here who, maybe someone got busted for selling a gram of weed, or they shoplifted, or they drove too many times without a license, and next thing you know, they're in jail for 5-10 years, despite how they may have contributed to their community beforehand. By shunning people from being able to be reintroduced into society, all we do is we put these individuals into a self-defeating prophecy in which they are consistently forced to repeat the patterns that have been set out before them. Give them back into society and say, hey, I made a mistake, but I want to be better. They don't have any choice but to go be worse and go be what the justice system and society has tried to make them out to be, which is monsters. But they're not. They're human beings, and they've made mistakes. When a lot of people don't know this, but the vast majority of service industry people are, maybe they were in jail for 3-4 years, and they finally found someone just last week who said, no one will give me a chance. I got a felony. And said, look, I don't, because of a lack of experience. But lack of experience aside, your history is not going to exclude you from an opportunity to come in and show that you can prove who you are and that you've got the skill and the talent and the work ethic to be successful here. So I can, 100% say that, we are going to be a second chance employer, because, a mistake doesn't mean you lose your entire life. It's not fair to work out that way. And too many industries exclude people for mistakes. And I've made my fair share of mistakes just like anyone else has. I'm not going to sit here and exclude someone because of a mistake they've made when I've made my own. That's just hypocrisy at its finest. Worse, rather.
Well, it sounds like we align very similarly on that, as I expected. And I think that society often doesn't realize that when people are able to reintegrate into the workforce and earn a paycheck and become self-sufficient, it benefits everybody. When I interview people who have been served through Goodwill, more than a paycheck, it's just that sense of purpose. Like, I have a reason to get up and go to work. I'm being counted on. I have a schedule. People are relying on me. So it's just a holistic approach.
I think it's really easy for individuals, especially who have never dealt with the legal or the justice system before, to, from the outside looking in, say, they made a mistake, that makes them a bad person, and they're getting their just desserts. They're getting their rewards for their bad decisions. But being stuck in jail in and of itself was the reward, so to speak. We shouldn't continue to punish them, and we have no right to do so. We are not the judge. We are not the jury, and we sure as hell should never be the executioner. We never have a right to judge someone for a mistake like that. I'll tell you honestly, I've been in jail 8 times. Tiny offenses. One of them was for 12 days because I refused to pay the court money, because verbatim to the judge, I said, "You're not getting any of my money for this bullshit charge. Just put me in the van and take me out of here." That doesn't make me a bad person. I have done more for the majority of the communities I've been involved in than a lot of individuals I see and speak to every day on the street. And I don't go out and brag about it. I do it because that sense of purpose, that opportunity that I was given to come back out, even though, it was only 12 days and everything else was a drunk thing today, but still I had an opportunity that a lot of people aren't given. I would be doing myself morally a disservice, but I would be doing all of the individuals who are never given these opportunities a massive disservice if I didn't go out every day with a sense of purpose and say, I'm going to do the absolute best I can, even when it's not good enough. Because there are lots of people who don't get to.
I have goosebumps.
I know. I'm like, Devon for president.
And that's kind of why we hosted the roundtable, is because we were so ignorant.
Ourselves, yeah. We're willing to admit ignorance.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but we hosted a roundtable in, July?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I had this conversation with someone just the other day. Actually, I've had this conversation many times in the last year, but even beyond that, I think that it's hard to really encompass everything that's going on when it comes to civil and human rights right now. But I think that what you guys did by having that roundtable is so admirable, and I'll tell you why. Not because you were being an ally and you're great people and la-di-da, because that's obvious. That's apparent. We all see that. We all know that. What's really admirable about what you guys did is that you were willing to do something, but inherently, as human beings, it's terrifying. I think that one of the top 3 easily things that is just scary for us by nature is to accept a reality beyond what we have seen. So what's going on with race right now is that we have so many different people out here who are now being forced to either accept or reject the reality that so many other people in the country have experienced. But because they can't see it, because they can't experience it, it just doesn't make sense. And it's not to any fault of their own. But when someone comes to you, like in any relationship, surely in any relationship anyone's ever had, we've all had opportunities where we had to be told by our partner, hey, you've been doing something for a while that's hurting me. And in that moment, we have to say, either I hear you and I am sorry and I accept your feelings and I'm going to change, or we have to say, no, I wasn't doing that. But for now, I'm just going to drink mint juleps and do podcasts.
That's fair.
I love it.
And a hot brown. I cannot wait to see this.
And the hot brown. Yeah, and the hot brown.
I'm going to circle back to food. Devon, how did you find City Dining Club, and for what reason did you have the desire to partner and collaborate with us?
I don't know that I so much went looking for you guys as much as you popped up. And the more I kind of watched the way you guys interacted with the local citizens and the local restaurants, it spoke to activist and philanthropist in me, and also the chef in me, because it was very clear that, while, it's easy to go out and say you care about the culture and care about the industry and go spend 20, 30, that's it, I did my good deed, or, whatever. It's easy to, activism comes in different shades and levels, but you guys stepped up. You weren't getting paid to do any of this. You stepped up because you cared and you saw an opening and you saw an opportunity to get out and find a way to spread the wealth, so to speak, to, my other service industry family members. And I think that, at a time, at the time that you guys came around, there were other groups that were, focusing on food. But in my opinion, it wasn't necessarily, there was too much friction. There's just too much going on, where it was more about the consumer than it was about the restaurant. And there's nothing wrong with that, but going into a pandemic and, the industry was already kind of suffering, just generally speaking. And then we go into a pandemic and now all of a sudden we're just losing restaurants left and right. The consumer is important because they pay our bills, but just as much as the consumer is important, the restaurant and the workers there are also important. And, anyone can go on Google at any point in time, or Yelp or whatever, and they can find a restaurant to eat. So, I think that there were some groups out there where it was more about just finding a way to sate your appetite than it was to go out and really support these individuals who are struggling to pay their bills, struggling to feed their kids, struggling to take care of their pets because their pet has gotten hurt and they've got a $300 vet bill and they're already $400 behind and 2 weeks behind on the rent. It was just very obvious to me that you guys were concerned about the restaurants themselves. And so that was important to me. It spoke to me. And so I jumped on and I followed everything you guys were doing and, just kept an eye on it. Lauren, you and I communicated a few times. And, it really spoke to me that people, especially not coming from the restaurant industry at all, people stepped up to show that they really care about everything that's going on with us. So that's why I ended up following you guys initially, and then when it came time to talk podcast partnership and everything else, we were talking about, the cooking channel that I'm planning on starting in the next few weeks. And, then we started talking podcasts and I had already kind of been thinking podcasts and you guys were thinking podcasts and it was like, that's it. It was obviously meant to be, and so, a couple of weeks later, here we are.
Before I jump into the next question, what are you currently doing?
What are you putting egg on the bread or?
Yeah, I am. So I'm actually putting some egg on the bread. I'm actually going to bake it. This is not going to be a 100% classic hot brown. It's going to be a little bit different, but it is going to be delicious. But I'm actually soaking the egg in bread. I know a lot of people, they cook it in a casserole dish, but I'm actually going to bake it first, let it expand a little bit from that egg and then bring it out, cool it, and use that to put all the toppings on and do the second bake. I think it'll add some nice texture and flavor to the bread.
So is this a quicker way to do it? Almost like a more efficient way to make a hot brown for me and Lauren that we're terrible cooks. Anything that takes more than 30 minutes, we're terrible at. I'm really good at making ramen noodles though. Out of the packets, we're really good at that.
Yeah, we're not good at
honestly, you could get a cast iron skillet or whatever. Just throw the bread down, throw some egg in there to keep the bread moist while it bakes. And throw some tomato and some cheese on top, some bacon, bake it for 10, 15 minutes, pull it out, top it with Mornay, and there's your hot brown. I mean, it's really not complicated. I like to make things a lot more complicated than they have to be, and that's just my nature as a chef is, working my way back towards fine dining, so yeah, I tend to overcomplicate things that could be a lot simpler.
I try to overcomplicate them too.
Like words?
I season my food way too much, so I'm just I'll just stick to this.
Throwing it all there.
You had just
So
mentioned.
Tyler's at home cooking, doing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right?
I'm that, but like for like 20 and double
It's
fisting,
always
like,
so salty.
like it's so bad.
I always tell him we can add more. It's better to be under seasoned than over seasoned. And he
It is
doesn't
always better.
listen.
No, I'm like, this looks good.
It's a very fine line, but once you cross that line, there's not.
There's no going
I
back.
won't say nothing, but there's very little you can do once it's in there.
So, Devon, you had just used the word fine dining, and I read this in an article, so it's public knowledge, but if I'm pushing too far, tell me. I read that you know, growing up, your family relied on food stamps and government assistance in order to be fed. So what does it feel like to make that transition from relying on food stamps to, you know,
killing it,
transitioning it from food stamps to fine dining? Like, talk to me about that.
I forget sometimes what I say to the press. You know, being on the news and magazines and stuff so many times, it's like you forget you said something, and then someone's like, "Hey, what about this?" And you're like, "Whoa!
When did I say that?
Which of my parents did you speak to?"
It was April of 2020. That's when the article was. That's when you said it, Devon.
That was the last food drive we did, I think. Yeah, no, it's how do I describe that? I mean, it's crazy because, you know, there were times we were fine, and then there were times we were just not fine. We were on government assistance, and it got hidden from me very well. But now that I'm older, it's like very obvious to me. Like, there were times we were just not doing great, and that's okay. You know, my mother did the absolute best she could, and my family, you know, they all came together to help one another. But yeah, I mean, between my childhood and then, you know, when I decided to leave college and kind of just walk around with a guitar and flip-flops and try and make a living out of that, you know, there have definitely been times where I've had no money whatsoever. There have been times when, you know, I was eating ramen noodles and Vienna sausages, and that was as nutritious as things were going to get. Those dollar mashed potatoes and dollar rices, boy, let me tell you how many of those things I had. I used to make dollar mashed potatoes in a coffee pot. I mean, I made some things happen. So, you know, to be able to have experienced what I've experienced and come through the industry and seen these amazing ingredients that I get to work with and like understand them, when 10 years ago I wouldn't know lamb from pork if you put it in front of me. You know, it's I mean, it's insane. I don't have any other word for it. It's really crazy. You know, thinking about how disillusioned I became with the idea of ever really being able to just like have money to eat the way I wanted to or live the way I wanted to, you know, and now I've really made a name for myself and a living for myself off of food, which is something that I didn't always have, you know, access to like other families and individuals had. It's good. I mean, it's hard to really describe, you know, because in thinking back, you know, it's almost like two totally different lives that I've lived. You know, it's like I've, in a matter of 28 years, lived a couple different lifetimes. And I think that, you know, earlier, I think you were starting to get onto the question and then we kind of moved on. But if I recall correctly, you were kind of asking, like, where did my personality come from? Where did I come from? And where I came from was, you know, a life of not, you know, we weren't dirt poor. There weren't times when I couldn't shower or didn't have shoes, but we also weren't well off either. You know, I'd say lower middle class, if that. You know, that's the maximum of the range that I experienced. And so, you know, who I am, where I've come from, that's what's made me who I am. I think that when you grow up in need, you develop this natural idea of, I have to do things for the people around me. I have to do things for the future because I know how easy it is to go back to having absolutely nothing. And it's just like that. You know, I think it's so easy for people who haven't ever experienced that want, that need, especially at an early age, which can be traumatizing. You can carry something like that with you for the rest of your life, and people don't consider the mental toll that can take on an individual. But I think it's really easy, again, no and to no fault of the human in question, really easy to come from a better life and never understand like how close you are to losing all of it. You know, we see Louisville has a homeless community the size of which I've never seen before. And it's so easy to drive past those people, and you know, some people try not to make eye contact. They just roll up the windows. They pretend like they're on their phone, this, that, or the other. But I always, if I have the cash, if I have food I just bought from a restaurant, it does not matter. If I have something to give, I will always give it, because I know that you're one house fire away, which I had as a child. You're one house fire away. You're one missed car payment away. You're one missed rent payment away from losing everything. And it's for that very reason that a large focus of my life, especially of my career, is to consistently find ways to reach back and reach out and give up. And Lauren, like you said, not a hand out, a hand up. I want to take these people and lift them up with me. And, you know, so, you know, that's just who I am. So, you know, back to what it's like to have, you know, needed food stamps at different points in my life for one reason or another, to be in a scenario where I can eat whatever I want, and I can create whatever I want. You know, I can't say enough how blessed it feels to be in that position. You know, because I never thought that I would be where I am. You know, I never, not even 10 years ago, when I was serving and cooking in the exact same shift in my server clothes at Cracker Barrel, did I think that 10 years from now I would be a chef with, you know, the ability to do everything I do now, and the networking opportunities I have now. It's just a constant reminder. I think the entire process, to concisely sum it all up, from there to here, more than anything, it's a constant reminder that at any point I can lose it all, but it's also all mine to gain. But that if I don't help others beside me and behind me and around me, that I don't deserve it.
Once again,
right?
Like, goosebumps, dude. Like, this is one of the best interviews I've ever heard in my life, whether we did it or not. Like, this is so awesome. But what do you got there? You have peppers, or what is that you're chopping up?
I am very, very, very thinly, like hair thin, slicing garlic. I'm going to use it to create the base for our mornay. And the thinner if you slice your garlic thinly enough, not only will it lead to it releasing that natural sweetness exponentially faster than if you were to use whole or diced or just roughly chopped cloves, but on top of that, some of those really thin slices, they'll almost just melt into whatever it is you're creating, to the point where they're so thin and translucent after having been cooked, you don't even know they're there until you end up with a piece in your mouth, and then it's like, wow, what is the sweetness that I taste? You would never think that it's just a really thinly sliced piece of garlic, but surprise, surprise, it is.
I love garlic.
And be careful when you say like hair thin, because my hair has gone back from like here to here, and it's going pretty thin on top. So.
Hey, why do you think I'm wearing this beanie?
I feel you, man. Like, it is going back.
Yeah.
So who are we getting next? We getting like Guy Fieri on this podcast?
Yeah, Devin. Who's next? You have all the connections.
Who's in your radar that you really want to like dive into their life, pry into their life?
I can do all of my research.
So she's had like 17 shots of Fireball.
No, I have not.
Okay, 16 shots of Fireball. A glass of another Fireball and Coke. Mm-mm. She's pried into your life, so let her pry into someone else's life. We're 3 co-hosts. You're going to show them how to cook, even though they think they know how to cook. Who are we getting?
I want Dallas McGarity in the lineup for sure. I think
Dallas McGarity would be
maybe Dallas and Josh
amazing
at the same time.
In town. I think Josh Moore for sure. Damaris Phillips. We got Ronnie over at Manhattan Project. We've got some amazing chefs on these food trucks we have in town that they just do not get the credit they deserve. I mean, some of the food I've had on food trucks is better than the food I've had in restaurants in this town.
Yeah, I'm doing Chan Nelson for sure with Back Deck.
We'll definitely get Chan on here. Chan love this thing.
Yeah, I think
Chan will steal the audience. Chan is like so charismatic and just so easy to love him.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a cat.
Hey,
Gus.
what's up, cat?
Darnell Ferguson.
Is that Super Chefs?
Yeah, he's gonna be launching.
Oh yeah, Darnell Ferguson at Super Chef. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. The list goes on and on. Anyone who's watching, I'm sorry if I haven't said your name. I mean, there are just so many of us out here that I'm in the middle of cooking and talking. I promise I like and appreciate all of you guys, and I will do everything in my power to get you on here.
Yeah, no, I mean, anybody that wants to be on, but especially, the people that they have, I mean, the best chefs in the city, they have to have some crazy story, like what drove them to want to get to that level.
Yeah,
but on a more serious note, okay, have you ever played one, marry one, kill one? Or you know what I'm referencing?
Yeah. Marry, kill, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's not the question.
So tacos, pizza, burgers, or pasta?
That's more than 3 options.
Let's just go tacos, pizza, burgers. Once again, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Lauren wanted me to ask some question. I failed.
Hold on,
I've
got this answer. I'm marrying the tacos. I'm killing the pizza, and I'll the burger.
What?
Wait, say it again.
Over pizza? Oh.
I'll marry tacos. Yeah, see, the reason you say that, Tyler, is because you have a gutter palate.
That's probably true. I eat ramen noodles on like a nightly basis.
No, yeah, tacos. I could eat tacos every single day of the week. Pizza, when I was a kid and when I was in college and stuff, I loved it. Pizza, not so much. I'm not a big fan anymore.
Taking a burger.
And burgers, you can't go wrong with a good burger. Oh man, especially throw in some brisket and some other stuff. Oh, do a nice custom blend. Oh God, come on, man.
You're probably right now that I think about it. Like tacos are just.
No, I'm absolutely killing the burgers.
What? No, you gotta have like
killing the burger.
It's not just like
if I never had another burger again, I wouldn't be that sad.
It's not just like a beef patty and cheese though. He's talking about like the burger that I had at the place this Saturday.
The mac and cheese burger is what you had.
The Ainsworth. No,
It's so good.
I care much more about tacos and pizza.
Like pizzas, I mean, I get like pepperoni, bacon, almost everywhere. The key word is map. Back to the podcast.
I want to apologize to Devon and our viewers and Tyler because I am the first to admit that I have I'm the most type A person. I have control issues, and we're writing down notes back and forth to each other. So when Tyler doesn't ask a question exactly how I envision it in my mind, I had
no idea what you wrote down. That was terrible handwriting.
It says after
17 shots of Fireball.
After I'm done being serious, ask him if he had to give up one, which would it be? Tacos, pizzas, burgers, or pasta? That's pretty straightforward, I feel like.
I feel like you would
definitely pizza. Yeah. Pizza's got to go.
So then you just get turned into Mary Kill out of nowhere.
I thought that's what we were going to do. We were going to do a game out of that.
And plus, this was the question I wanted you to ask first. So, guys, when people watching this are probably like, she's such a bitch. I do have some bitchy tendencies. I just I need everything to be perfect, and when Tyler one word's wrong, I'm like, oh, it's not how it's supposed to be asked. So okay, Tyler, go back to my shitty handwriting.
Give me it.
You were supposed to ask this question.
All right. So first off, what are you doing right now, Devon?
Right now, I am browning this turkey a little bit. I'm going to use it as the base for my roux for the Mornay. And so what I'm doing is I'm browning it and I'm letting it stick to the pan so I can scrape up all that deliciousness.
Nice. So where are you at currently? Because I'm Uber is, it's on my phone. Uber, Lyft.
I am at Chef Space, but if you guys promise to make me a drink, I'll just bring this up to you.
We'll make you a drink.
I mean, we have plenty of
If Tyler
alcohol,
doesn't
right?
drink all the alcohol by the end of the night, you're yelling at me. You've taken way more shots.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, yeah, I want a drink, but I really just want to meet Stevie. But yeah, no, I'll take it.
Stevie,
He's
what?
a local celebrity.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, it's not local. He was published in a Lithuanian blog, so
I'm
he's
just
international.
obsessed
Oh my gosh, Steve.
Anytime you guys post anything about him, I'm looking.
Do you follow his
Like,
page?
I gotta know what he's doing.
Devin, do you
He has a
follow
page?
his page?
No, I had no idea he had a page. I never looked at his
Oh yeah, it's called Sets for Stevie. That was our original nonprofit. That I don't think a lot of people know that. So
Oh wait, no, I have seen that actually. I think.
Yeah. If I don't post a daily update by like noon, my mom texts me and she's like, hello, where's Stevie's update today? I'm like,
your people.
Oh,
sorry.
he's all over you, man.
Yeah.
Devin has tons of people, like 4,000 friends on Facebook or something like that. Probably 70,000 followers on Instagram. I don't know.
Oh, I rarely use my Instagram. I just started actually using my Instagram this past year. So I've had it for like 5 years and barely used it.
I bet he still has more followers than me.
I follow like 3,000 people and like 32 people follow me.
All right. So when is the Fuelery supposed to open, and what can customers expect in terms of like cuisines that you're going to be offering?
The Fuelery will be opening. We have a scheduled grand opening of March 30th. Not a grand opening. It'll be more of a soft opening.
You better get invites.
Well, you guys are going to get invites to the private soft opening, but
We made it.
even the first opening is really going to be just us like first opening up to the public. Things aren't going to be like finished at that point, but they're going to be finished enough to where we can let people come in, see what we're doing. And then I think what we're planning is that come May or so, once we get through Derby and we've finalized everything we want to do, either May or June, we're going to introduce a new menu, and then that'll be like a grand opening where we'll really have more of a celebration and an opportunity for people to come out and, see us at 100% as opposed to like 70, 75%.
On that note, Devin, where's your go-to place in the city? Where do you like to go out to eat when you're not cooking for yourself?
Well, let me tell you this little known fact. Most of us chefs do not cook for ourselves. It's a lot of us will go out and eat at other restaurants. The only time we really
Okay,
cook is for someone
I'm going to
else.
cut you off real quick because I asked another chef this recently, and he laughed at me and said, I wasn't going to call it out. And I asked the same question, and he's like, oh, no, I do not trust anyone's cooking but my own. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both
Well, you can't.
sides.
If you have that kind of mindset, then
You're never
I don't
gonna
know. I'm
grow,
not gonna
I
speak
feel
on
like.
it. I don't know the individual, but that's the kind of mindset that means that not only are you never going to grow as a culinarian, but the staff who work for you, they're never going to have the kind of mindset where they're willing to try things outside of what they can create. If I were to sit here and say, no, I don't anyone else is cooking, then my cooking would remain stale for the entirety of my life. It's by going out and trying other restaurants and seeing other people's creativity that we get to spark our own. Can you balance a PL margin? If not, you're not a chef. Can you design 60 to 70, maybe 80 recipes in a year that are going to be accepted by your clientele? No? Then you're not a chef. Get the f- out of here with that.
No, I think, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Lauren tried to videotape me live. So like the chefs on Chopped are obviously super good. But I literally tried to do a Chopped episode myself, and I think
I
had a
remember
20-minute
seeing
session,
that.
a
Yeah,
30-minute session,
basket.
completely bombed. Like, was not even close, and it was horrible.
It was awful.
Like,
it was awful.
Like, I would consider myself like a pretty good barbecue person. Like, I can make ribs. I can make.
It wasn't a barbecue
I can
challenge,
smoke
though.
a brisket. Like, I can do all these different things on the smoker.
Yeah,
but
those things
when it
take like
comes-
14
when
hours,
it comes
though.
to this, like, creating a quick, excellent tasting meal out of stuff that you have no idea what you're doing, like, that's That's when I feel like Devon needs to go on Chopped. He has to go on Chopped because he had he created something that was out of almost nothing. Like it was ramen noodles, and like I feel like you would absolutely kill it in anything that you did on that stage and really any stage.
Yeah, I've been, you know, a big part of what I'm doing now here in Louisville is trying to build that resume because my dream is I have two dreams. One, I want to be one of the less than 70 certified master chefs in the nation, which there are only 68 of right now. It is not easy. It's an 8-day testing process, 14-hour days. If you fail 2 of your 8 days, you're gone. But also, I want to eventually have my own cooking channel, which, you know, again, is why, we're doing this podcast and why I am planning on starting this YouTube cooking channel, because I feel like that would be the greatest opportunity for me to really reach around and find these young cooks who have the right mindset and teach them what it takes to really be a chef. And I'm only 28. I'm very, very young to have the experiences in the industry that I have. So I recognize that I'm not the perfect chef either. But there are some things I do that definitely have set me up for success over some other individuals that I've worked with or seen or witnessed or whatever. And I think that, we need to be able to reach back and show these younger cooks what the right kind of role model to be and what the right kind of leader to be is, as opposed to, what they see from Gordon Ramsay, which, don't get me wrong, Gordon Ramsay is my favorite person to watch, but he's paid to be that way. He's not that way in real life. You go and listen to testimony from other cooks and chefs I'm on a podcast, who have worked with him, and, they'll tell you, yeah, he gets pissed off if you do something wrong, but who's not going to? If you stand in my kitchen and you drop a piece of fish on the ground and then you pick it up and put it on the plate, you're going home. I'm going to yell at you and probably call you a lard ass as well. You're being dumb. But, that's not the kind of person he is. It's not the kind of leader and role model he really is. But again, he's paid to be that way. He needs to put on that act so that people watch, because that's how everyone's getting their bills paid. To reach the level of master chef and to be able to have a platform where I can speak to other individuals, other cooks, other people who are interested in the industry, other chefs, younger and older than me, because I consistently speak with chefs who are older than me, who have been doing it longer, who will come to me. I had a friend reach out the other day. He's been cooking longer than I've been alive, reached out to me and said, hey, I want your thoughts. I've got a couple ideas for a menu. I want your thoughts on them. That's amazing. That's an honor to me. And it speaks to me on what I've done in my career in order to make those connections where people trust me with that. And, in order to have the ability to have a much larger platform and show younger cooks and chefs that, there is a way to go out here and be a good role model and be a positive leader, I think that would be my end goal as for my career.
We interviewed a chef one time where, like, this statement just hit me hard. I don't even know the context that got us to this point, but he had said, my goal as a chef is to make sure that eventually every single one of my staff members is better than I am.
Absolutely. That's the way it's supposed to be. If you are not trying to make the people learning from you better than what you honestly are, then you're not really leading them. You're leading yourself towards whatever goals you have in mind.
Yes, and the chef was, and I'll just shout him out, was Chef Ziba from Logan Street Market.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was so good.
So when he came here, he grew up in somewhere in Africa, and then he went to France to cook for a little bit, and then he came here to Louisville, met his wife, and then he worked for Josh Moore, and then he worked
Great guy, amazing chef.
Anush Sharat. Tell me if I'm saying that wrong. Is it Anush Sharat? I asked him the question. I was like, who's the best out of you three? It's got to be Chef Ziba, Chef Josh, or Chef Anush. And he was like, it's me. I was like, well, why? You got to tell me why. And he went into like a super competitive like mindset and was like, I don't do my job unless I try to get my employees better than me. Yeah. And if they're not better than me, then I'm not doing my job.
Yeah, and it wasn't an arrogant "I'm the best." It was like a very humble but confident response.
It was a great response. I wish we could have it on the podcast or some sort of video because it was excellent.
Yeah,
I can't duplicate it.
I think that that's been a goal. I've been a couple places before I found this company, which really has been the right fit for me after many other companies that I thought were not. But even with companies that I felt were necessarily not the right space for me, I found employees and team members who were the right people for me because I could teach. I could really teach them and reach out to them and give them an opportunity to be better. And I wholeheartedly believe that as a leader, if your goal is not to make the people you're teaching better than you, then you've not only failed yourself, but you failed them and anyone else who has been under you. So I think it's just so important to have that kind of mentality so that you can really, because people recognize that, especially in this industry, they recognize that your goal is not to hold them down. Your goal is to push them to be better. And sometimes, unfortunately, people will take that and that up. But all you can do is just do the absolute best you can to help them if they're willing to help themselves, and watch them flourish as individuals and as chefs, because it is, this whole industry, every single step, every single part of this industry is about learning and growing. I've always said that if I ever wake up one day and feel like I've learned everything, then at that point I need to find another industry to be in, because this industry changes so much from day to day. If I ever honestly think I've learned everything, I'm at that point already 10 miles behind the next young, strapping, handsome guy who wants to come take my spot.
So I've seen this quote on LinkedIn many, many times. It's like, why should I pay for training if my employee is going to leave in 5 years? Or why would I pay to train my employee if I feel like they're just going to leave in 5 years on to the next best thing? Well, what if you don't train that employee and they stay forever?
Right? Yeah, you're screwed.
Right, exactly. So, invest all your talents into your employees that you possibly can, because if they do leave, then,
you did your job.
Whatever, great.
You did your job, yeah.
Yeah,
the next best thing.
I just had my annual performance review with my boss, and he said that exact same thing. He said, Lauren, obviously, you're a valuable asset to this team. I don't want you to leave, but in 5 years, if you leave this organization and go take a better role somewhere else, then I know that as your supervisor, I did my job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the good thing about pushing someone forward like that is you never know where they're going to end up. 5 years from now, you might be down on your luck, and they might be the person to offer you a job. And just like that, because you did a good job for them, you are good. You are back in good shape, and it's because you did what you were supposed to do.
I was transparent, straightforward about this. My show starts in 4 minutes. So
yeah, I've got the hot brown is coming out of the oven in literally 60 seconds.
60 seconds.
Yeah,
okay, so
let's go.
We went on a huge tangent. I'm coming back to the original question. Where do you like to go out to eat in Louisville?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot you asked me that.
Your favorite restaurant and favorite chef. You have to name them right now.
No.
Yeah, they're both.
I don't think I'm so not picky about my food, but picky about what mood I'm in when it comes to food. That it would be hard to name a favorite. Just like when people ask me what's my favorite thing to cook, it's impossible to say, because today it might be pasta and tomorrow it's going to be sushi. But I think that one thing I've been eating a lot of lately, I won't say it's my favorite. I won't do that disservice to all the other chefs in town. I will say one thing I've been eating a lot of lately is tacos from Los Gorditos Taco Truck. They set up over in front of Oxmoor from 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. Wednesday through Sunday, I believe it is. And there's some of the best tacos I think I've ever had. And he's not doing anything special. He's just doing it right. It's just good, authentic Mexican food. And it just doesn't get better than that. It's cheap. You're not paying $20 for 3 tacos. You're paying $9.99 for 3 tacos. Authentic, good Mexican food. I think I ate his food 3 or 4 times last week. And And I'm not ashamed to tell you that I ate tacos.
This is
the
why
other
you're
3-4 days
marrying
out
the
of the week.
tacos. Why you're marrying the tacos.
That's exactly why I'm married to tacos.
I'm gonna look up the name of this, I guess, restaurant. It's a food truck on it's on Breckenridge at a marathon close to 6 Mile in Breckenridge. So we live basically on the corner.
I'm so ashamed.
Like maybe 45 seconds away from this food truck for 3 years, roughly.
And it looks so sketchy, okay?
Like, I mean, the gas station had bars on the windows, and the
that does sound sketchy.
just didn't look the best. But Lauren took a leap of faith, so we
The
started.
day we were
Dining Club.
moving.
It was basically like a week or a month before we actually moved. She went to this food truck, and my God, it was
Life-changing.
If there was anything like paradise, when you're talking about tacos being your favorite food, I could eat this food truck.
Wasted 3 years of our lives. 3 years.
Within walking distance.
Yeah, we could have walked there. And for 3 years, we just passed it up because it looked like a...
Right. We judged a book by its cover.
Exactly. Don't do
Played
that.
yourself. Yeah. My advice to anyone and everyone, honestly, is if you see a food truck, stop at the food truck. It doesn't matter where you are.
Every food truck is so
if you see a
there
food
was actually
I like that.
there was a time I was with my partner a couple months back. Actually, it was before all the pandemic stuff happened, and we drove past the gas station, and we both saw it at the same time, and she knew immediately because that's how serious I am about my food truck. She knew, and as soon as I opened my mouth to say something, she said, "I'm already turning around." I was like, thank you so much. And our friends had to wait like 10, 15 minutes for us, but I didn't care because I was getting food truck food no matter what happened.
That's like Lauren with dogs now. If we see a dog that looks even remotely lost, she's like,
and then the owner walks up and they're like, hey, dude, that's my dog.
The owner gets
We're not even going to go into the last time that I, quote, rescued a dog.
All right, guys, well, here it is.
Yeah!
Take it down a notch.
Oh my God, this is fine.
Okay, Devin, you need to take a picture of that on portrait mode and post it to the group.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah, absolutely.